So good morning, Julissa Cariello here from Dream On Group, and wanted just to cover a few things. I know that this is probably one of the last sessions for the day. Other than that, there's going to be a lot of Meet the Buyer sessions and forecasts coming up in the afternoon. And so hopefully you guys are enjoying the conference, and that you remember you can go back and listen to any of the sessions and for at least 6 months, I think. And anything that was on here could be downloaded and viewed over and over as many times or used as you need to. So what I'm going to cover, so a little bit about Dream On Group. So Dream On Group is Dream On Real Estate Development Company, Tejas Premier Building Contractor, and Dream On Property Management. So we kind of cover all aspects of the building and constructing and curating and managing. So my background is kind of involved in a lot of different things, which I really enjoy, but more than anything, I love being a part of, what's happening in our city and working with our leadership and making sure that we're collaborating so that we're able to work together to get ahead. So the road to recovery is something that, as a business owner, there's no real checklist anywhere as to what you can do. What I'm going to share with you today are just some of the things that I have done to help me, stay in line and continue innovating with the stuff that we're trying to do to stay in the construction industry and be busy, right? So I'll tell you how we've been impacted. Our 2020 was a tough year. We had a lot of projects put on hold. We had to do some layoffs. We actually had to re-strategize what we were doing, and we had to run lean. Our revenues actually dropped 25% from our normal, years. And so that was a big drop for us to absorb, and we just maintained, right? So I'm going to share with you a few things that we did. But what I will tell you that now at the end of April, we've landed probably 5 projects in 1 month. So we're now ramping up because we need to hire back and we need to get back to work. And so, but that was more tied to our clients. They're now going back to work as well. And so they're awarding the projects they have put on the shelves, right? And so we have been submitting pricing all in 2020. So those jobs are still happening. So I'm happy to share that at least we know that this is temporary, right? And how we are able to look at things as we're running our company. If you'll go to the next slide. So one of the biggest things that, I had to deal with was the whole mindset challenge of, is it, right now, is it really over? Can we put our people back to work without risk? That is something we have to deal with every day. And, when we put our workers out, we have to make sure they're following any guidelines and they're protecting themselves. And, what we did, the first thing is we're giving them information on the vaccinations and trying to make sure they're getting vaccinated. But again, we have a few that are saying, we don't want to do it and we're not ready, and we're not going to make them, but we're also not going to stop from moving forward, right? We're telling them, hey, business is opening everywhere. We want to get back to business as usual. And, the fact that we're not meeting in person has really hurt the company on the collaboration efforts that we normally used to do. So we're bringing that back and we're letting them know, so that we say, if you need to feel that you need to be a little more distant than everybody else in the group, that's okay. But we're going to start going back towards the same approach. We're still taking our precautions, but we got to get back to business because we need everybody to continue thriving, right? One of the things is our company also works with about 200 small business vendors, and they need to get back to work as well. And so we all depend on each other. And so, we're going to do everything we can to do that. And so understanding let's change the thinking of, everybody's got to go home and we got to protect each other, to let's get back to work, still protect each other, but do it in a way that is going to be smart, right? So go to the next slide. Okay, so understanding where we stand. So one of the first things that we're doing, even during the pandemic, when everything shut down, we immediately went back to where are we financially? Where are we on projects? How many staff do we have? What do we need to move forward? And more importantly, where are our clients? What are they doing? What are their needs? That was something that we needed to really grab a handle of and to understand. And so having conversations with them, letting them know we understand, um, you know, what their needs are and what we're trying to do to adjust. Now, the pivoting that happened, for all the meetings going virtual, that was something that saved so much time that it's probably going to stay with us going forward, right? But again, the buildings don't get built when people are on virtually. Like, we got to get out there and actually do the construction. And so we need to figure out how do we do that. But when we look at where we stand, we look at financially, how many months of survival, how much revenue do we have coming in based on how many expenses are going out, and how many months can we survive with that. And the rule of thumb is try to create like an 18-month in advance, like you're always in advance because you created a backlog of projects that are coming in. And so when you look at where you stand, you start basically lining up your projects and saying which of them are not happening, or which of them are coming back, or which new jobs do we have to keep us in the pipeline, and so that we know when we need to hire. That is something that we're doing. And what we started to do on that is we started looking at that forecast on a weekly basis, just because there was so many changes happening and we were trying to keep up with that. And so our team, our executive team, and there's really 3 of us that are main executives that we meet every Monday morning. And each of us come in with reporting from operations, from finance, from estimating, to kind of keep us on the loop of what is happening and where we need to go. That constant communication, I think, really helps to make sure we're all on the same page. If you go to the next slide. Okay, so then the next thing that I started looking at is what support is coming to help our small businesses. And the main thing that I wanted to get was, what is the government providing? And we first look at government from the federal government, what is coming from SBA, what is coming from IRS, and then, what is coming from the state level, and what is coming from local government, from the city or the county, that are providing different programs. And the good thing is that all of them are talking about economic relief programs. But I'm going to share with you some of the ones that I definitely say you have to do these. If you're a business, take advantage of these programs because they're there to help you get back on track. Now, the other thing is that we know that studies have shown that if a business had a 25% revenue loss or less, those businesses will bounce back a lot quicker. They just need a little bit of recovery relief. They're going to get back on track very quickly. If a business has been more than 50% reduction, where they've been completely shut down for whatever reason, whether they just went home and said, we're not going to do anything at this time, or their projects were all canceled and they just could not get back on track. The ones that had more than 50% are going to take a lot longer to get back on track, but it's not impossible. You just have to treat it like it's a startup. You're going to start from the very beginning, and you're going to bring your clients back in, and you're going to start bidding jobs, and you're going to start getting jobs back to get built, right? But again, it's just looking where you're at and what you're going to be doing. So some of the things that I want to make sure you're taking advantage of. The PPP loan is one for sure that has been given already twice, right? What we're seeing from the federal government is that PPP loan is provided and then forgiven. That will give you 2.5 months of wages from your best year in 2019 or 2020 if you happen to have a better year, but they're going to go by the years of 2019. So if you have your wages there, as long as you're showing some kind of a decrease, and I believe it's 25%, you'll be able to get that funding. And that is money that is free, like it's going to be tax-free on top of it. So take advantage of it. Now, the companies that are saying, because I've talked to several business owners that said, oh, we were okay, we didn't need it. It's really, it's an opportunity that's being missed, because this money is also set up to be a stimulus to help you stimulate your business. Use that money to grow your business, in other words. And so make sure that you're looking at that at that angle. Yeah, we can all be okay and know that we just don't spend, but we got to get back in there, right? But if there's money that's available for you to advance, know that the other businesses are doing it and they're going to get ahead. So don't be behind, right? The other thing that the IRS is putting out through the 941 quarterly tax reports, these are the sick leave credit. And so if you paid sick leave, they will give you up to $5,000 per employee that you paid during the whole quarter. And so what they're saying is if your employee left because they had COVID or they took sick leave for whatever reason and you paid them, they will reimburse you back up to $5,000 of that pay. And so that is, again, free money. And if you have 10 employees, that's $50,000 that's sitting there for you to grab. The other one is the employee retention credit. This particular one, it's kind of like an incentive for hiring, but also for retaining your workers. So this particular one will say for the first quarter of this year, if you, the first $10,000 that you pay that employee for the first quarter, we will give you $7,000 per employee. Again, if you have 10 employees, that's $70,000 that they're going to give you. They will also incorporate, if you paid for them to have a health insurance plan, the portion you paid as a company and the portion they paid as an employee, you get to include both to create the $10,000 if you can't reach it. Again, that's up to $7,000 credit. Now, the beauty of these programs is that they thought about it. And so what they're basically saying is you can actually take advantage of all three programs: the sick leave credit, the retention credit, and the PPP loan, just as long as you don't use the same wages. So if you lay it out in a spreadsheet, you line up the wages for the quarter, and then you say the first 5,000 per employee goes to the sick leave, the second 10,000 goes for the retention credit, and then the rest falls in the PPP loan, so that you're able to accumulate the 24 weeks to come up and get that full funding back. So what we're seeing is like a huge amount of money that is available if you actually just take advantage of it. The other thing you're going to be seeing is that the city of San Antonio and the county are working together to create funding and grants also. And what they're saying is these are going to be grants between $25,000, $50,000, or even up to $75,000. And again, some of them are going to say, if you didn't get the PPP, you qualify for this. Some of them are going to say, if you're hiring, you're going to get this. So it just depends on how they're lining up those grants that you're going to be able to do it. What you want to do is to make sure that you're keeping track of what's out there, right? The other thing is that if you sign up with the Buy Local Grow SA initiative through the Maestro Center, it's free. You sign up your business. All the resources are going to be on that website that you can go in and see what grants are out there, and the applications are there directly linking so that you can have access to them as well. We are going to be talking about having some CPA come in and teach some of the classes of the programs for the sick leave credit and the employee retention, because those are programs that are new. They're a little complicated, but if you understand what's happening, I mean, you'll do well. And if you don't have the time to come learn it, make sure you're on the phone with your CPA and they're guiding you as to what you should be doing. But again, this is access to capital that is going to be out there for free as a business owner, as long as you are hiring or retaining employees. The other thing is there's so many different small business emergency loans that are out there through the SBA. A lot of these are going through LIFT Fund. And there's going to be a majority of them that are going to go interest-free, but once that money runs out, it runs out. And so you just have to show that there's a need for this loan, and they're giving them to small business. So just make sure you keep up with that. Let me see, what else did I say? The tax reform. Okay, so tax reform is actually being discussed right now at the federal government. So Biden's been talking about, we're trying to pass this tax reform. They're going to reduce taxes temporarily to business owners. And so this will be coming as well. And so what they're almost saying is, don't file your tax returns yet, because they're going to be allowing you to retro to 2020. And so if you can extend and get with your CPA, that is something that I would definitely say, make sure you're communicating with your CPA, and that you have a CPA who is on top of the changes that are coming, because they're constantly changing. That is probably what I would say on this slide. And if there's any questions, let me know, please. We're good. Okay. So the next thing here is buy local. So one of the biggest thing that we're saying is that we want to make sure that the local businesses are being utilized. And say, for instance, if you are in Houston, you want the businesses from Houston to use businesses from Houston to grow them, right? If you're in San Antonio, we want them from San Antonio to be utilized. But this has to happen from business to business. As you're doing business with each other, try to pick somebody local, try to pick somebody in your neighborhood, so you're helping grow your own community. And then also stay in front of your leadership, your government leadership, whether it's city, county, school districts. Go in and request, hey, we want to know what percentage are you utilizing with local businesses, because it makes a difference. We know that every dollar that is spent locally will turn 7 to 19 times in the same economy, as long as we keep it local. And so we need to make sure that we keep asking for that as business owners, and that we're looking for our agencies that are partnering on any of these buy local programs. Again, I'm going to share with you the Buy Local Grow SA initiative with the Maestro Center allows you to register for free and connect with other business owners in the same link. Very similar to what WUBA is doing for this conference. It's going to do it through the Buy Local as well. And all these incentives and stuff are in there for free if you just take advantage of it.
We have a quick question.
Yes.
From Corinne Crowell. Are emergency loans available for startups?
I do not know, but that is a good question that you can ask SBA. You sometimes, or you can ask Lift Fund. I would not know as a business owner, but that is a good question. The other one that for startups, the other agency that's really good is Launch SA. They're also going to have anything that's available for startups, and if there's any funding available for startups. And sometimes it depends on the industry that you're opening up in. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to look at is the utilization of Workforce Solutions Alamo. So Workforce Solutions, again, this is where our employees go for unemployment, right? So for one, they're going to have programs and incentives for hiring the workers. They're also going to be having events for you to be able to connect with actual available workers if you need them. They're also going to have on-the-job training programs that will pay small businesses an incentive for hiring these employees and putting them to work. And what they basically say, this is an on-the-job training. This is a training that does not require certifications or licenses. These are workers to get back to work for skilled or unskilled most of the time. But if they're available and you can bring them in and train them a few things and they're able to get to work, this program will work and they will pay you for that. You just have to go through Workforce Solutions to find out how that program works, but it is available for you. Next slide, please. Okay, the workforce development. As we know in construction, the biggest challenge we're having is hiring employees, right? We're having a hard time in construction finding workers, and we're constantly stealing from each other to try to get some workers because we're all desperately needing labor, right? But one of the things that they're talking about is that the bond that was approved by the city of San Antonio that you guys voted on It's actually those funds are coming, and they're developing programs through the Workforce Solutions Alamo, through Project Quest, through Alamo Community College. And they're basically saying, we're going to be able to train people free for the businesses as long as you're going to be hiring. But as business owners, you're going to be able to send workers to get trained so that they advance. And the goal is that they make more money and that the company grows because you have talented people. So that is a program that is happening. But again, for construction, they're going to have programs in the trades as well. And so you want to be able to connect and make sure that you line up and say, hey, I can hire 5 electricians if you train them. And so the people will sign up and register to get trained. The business owner will come in and hire directly, and you're getting trained people. They're also going to have workforce development programs. And I know that Maestro Center is lining up for this, to be able to do training for the business owners so that we're able to get more assistance and more capacity building. And how do we become better entrepreneurs if we're able to get more assistance? Any questions on this?
Not so far.
Okay, good. I'm going to go to the next one. We're doing on time. Are we good? Okay, so having a financial plan is the next thing, right? With goals. Again, like I said, our company met, we got together and said, hey, what are we going to do? What is our goals? What is realistic for this year, for 2021? Knowing that we didn't, we had several things on hold and now we're coming back. So identifying those goals so that you're able to start measuring on a monthly basis. Where am I? Where are we doing? What do we need to work on? And you have a clear path to recovery. The main thing is, utilizing your team. And I remember when I started my company 15 years ago, there was only 3 of us. There was 3 employees in the whole company. And we had goals. We had matrix. We were measuring where we were, and we were identifying where we needed to work on more. But it made it really easy for everybody in the company to knew their purpose and knew why what the company was trying to achieve. It got to the level where we would identify how many clients we needed in place, how many jobs we needed, what size of projects we needed, what kind of margins we wanted those projects to have, down to the level of how many employees were going to be working with us as we were growing the company. And so this is something that a lot of companies fail to do because they think, oh, that we're a small group, we don't have people to do this. But if you do not have a plan, you're going to fail because you're not really measuring or keeping score of anything. And you want to be able to tell your story. I will tell you, having a financial plan or some goals established that you're tracking, and you're sharing this with your banker and you're sharing this with your bonding company, this helps them get more comfort in working with you because they know that they have a company that's doing the right things to get ahead, right? So the biggest thing is plan, right? What can I tell you? And measure. How are we doing measure? No questions on this one?
Not so far, no.
Okay, so the next thing is, if you go to the next slide. Okay, the good news, the construction industry is booming. It's bouncing back very quickly. It's crazy busy. On the real estate, from the private side to the schools, they receive tons of funding through bonding, through the state bonding to be able to get funding to do construction of the schools. That is going to be happening. The other thing is the hospitals are expanding. You're seeing the retail has been it's going to probably be on hold because some of the spaces are going to be having to fill again, but the banks are lending money and they're doing it a lot in the housing industry, and the multifamily industry is hugely busy right now. And so making sure that you're diversifying your client list, and you're making sure that whether you're working for a general contractor, you want to make sure that general contractor is, you can have one general contractor you work with and he does schools. That's one. You have another one that does federal contracts. That's another client. You have another one that does multifamily or does private work. You want to be able to have a mix of that so that you're able to keep up with the flow, because there is a cycle of the funding that happens in each of these different industries. And it's just understanding that if you're diversified enough with your client mix, you're going to be okay. But if you only stick with, I'm only going to do schoolwork, or I'm only going to do, one particular type, then you're going to have more of a seasonal type of business. And so just making sure that as you're looking at things that you're picking, to diversify that, to keep your pipeline busy.
I have a quick question
Yes.
from Corinne. She says, I know in the past that the Workforce Solutions, they paid the employee wages as they got trained on the job. Do we get to train them as well?
Yes, that is a program that is through Workforce Solutions, and you have to apply as a business to be able to grab those employees and train them yourself. And I believe that they're paying the business owner for training them, or they're paying the employee directly, so you don't pay their wages during that time period. So it's one of the two. You just need to make sure what's available. Now, what was a little complicated was, even through the Workforce Solutions Alamo, because they were receiving funding from like the city and funding from the county, they had two different programs going on at the same time, and the programs were different. And so you needed to know what's available for both to be able to realize that it was a different program and that you needed to apply differently, right? And so I know that, and that happened because it was introduced way too quickly, right? It wasn't planned. Now they're learning and they're saying, okay, let's have somebody who actually works with the business owner to consult them and tell them, here's the things that are available that you can take advantage of. And that's kind of what we need, right? And that is something that we're trying to also do through the Maestro Center's Buy Local, Grow SA initiative, is to put all the resources in one place so that you have a list to choose from. Hopefully that answers your question. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to talk about is just the reminder: continue the education on safety protocols. This is something that has to continue, especially in the construction industry. We have our workers working side by side. Sometimes they're all in a room, sometimes they're outside. It just depends. But regardless, make sure that you have safety plans established and that each of your supervisors on site are following those rules. If you're a subcontractor, do the same thing. You protect your workers. Your job is to protect your workers. If you have a superintendent who's working for a general contractor that's not following, go and talk to them, make sure that you're making sure that your employees are going to go home the same way they came in the morning. So just continue with that safe and healthy guidance. Okay, so the next slide. Okay, so one of the things that that we also look at is that small businesses have the potential to recover a lot quicker than a large business. A large business is like a big giant ship that takes forever to move. Small business, we flip very quickly, right? We're able to move around, we're able to make decisions, and we're able to make a huge impact if we are really paying attention and we're making decisions quickly. But the main thing is to do your research, plan, get organized so that you're able to make good decisions, so that you're able to move quickly. You don't want to approach things like you always used to. This is a different environment. Even if it's opening up back to business, the environment is different. The approach will be different. Your client is different. So you need to make sure that you remember that when you're approaching how you're coming back and how you're opening full speed ahead. You need to make sure that you're aware of that, and just what do you have to put in place to make it easier. There's going to be so many different opportunities for innovation, and be the one who's innovating, right? Because your clients are going to see which of the contractors are out there doing things the smart way or offering something that makes it easy. I don't know, it could be all kinds of stuff, but just knowing that they know that you're ahead of the game, that's going to make a huge impact. Your marketing side of how you're pushing out the story of what your business is doing is very critical as well. So make sure that you're on top of that and you're telling the right story. It doesn't matter who you're working for. If you're working for HEB, they're going to love to hear from you, especially if you're incorporating new things. Same thing if you're working for SAISD or the city or the county, they are all going to want to know that they're working with companies that are being safe, that are being smart about their business, and that they're going to be in business and they can count on them if they give them a long contract, right? So make sure that you guys are keeping up with that. And just know that as business owners, you're the one who gets to decide what you're going to do today, what you're going to do tomorrow, and what's going to happen this whole year. So do your best, have fun with it, and let's go out there and make some money, right? That's kind of all I have, you guys. I'm open for any questions or discussions. If there's anything y'all want to talk about, it is a small group. We're here.
Yes, so if you have any questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat and we can get those answered on here. Lisa's contact information is there if anyone wants to follow up for after the presentation, and this presentation will be recorded and available for all of our attendees on the Whova website. So we can give them a few minutes just to see if anyone has any questions.
Too easy, guys. No, well, I hope you guys enjoyed the conference. And
we actually have one question.
Okay.
From Corinne, is there a mentor protege through Maestro Center?
Yes, and that you want to talk to Maestro team. Any of them will be happy to share with you what's coming up. Maestro is available online and also on site. They're located here in San Antonio, and you come in anytime, and they're here to help. And they have an incubation center. They do acceleration, and they also have events happening all the time. The main thing is sign up for the Buy Local Grow SA website, and everything will be contacted through there. And so you'll have access to so many resources that really I wish as a business owner when I had first started was available for me. The other thing I will tell you is that the Maestro Center has a board of business owners and community leaders, partners and agencies that work with us that are constantly looking for programs that are going to help advance the businesses they work with. And so they're specifically setting up programs to help build capacity with the companies they're working with. And I love that we get to do that because it shows that they care and they want to be a part of that growth. And what we're seeing is these businesses are growing and they're being impacted. And so take advantage of this program because it's available for all companies. This particular conference is just for construction companies, but the Maestro Center has programs for all companies in all industries. And so there's always something happening that you want to be able to connect with.
Of course, and Nayeli has dropped our website. We're in the chat, so if you wanted to go on there, find out more information about our programs, about our events, our contact information is also there. She also put the registration link for Buy Local. So if you wanted more information about that, and that's where you would submit your application for the Buy Local program. So if no one has any more questions, thank you so much, Julissa, for your time and for your wonderful presentation. We greatly appreciate it. Like I mentioned before, this will all be available for our attendees to go back and rewatch. If they have any questions, feel free to reach out to any of the Maestro staff about any questions you may have. So thank you so much again, and thank you all for watching.
Thank you, Samantha. Bye-bye, guys.